Welcome to Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.
In our previous interview with Priority Payments Local, we covered some of the biggest challenges dealers face when it comes to payments. Now we're bringing in another perspective to build on those ideas and look what all of this means for dealers in practice. Joining us once again is Angelo Mendola, who is the President and Chief Operating Officer at Priority Payments Local, and David Spisak, CEO of Disruptive Growth Solutions. I know you know this gentleman. He is doing great work for all dealers all over the country. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on the show today.
Happy to be here, Jim.
Yeah, so let's kind of jump right in here. We, as I mentioned to you before we got recording, did an interview earlier that has been aired already on this topic of payments for dealers and some of the pain points that they are experiencing. David, I would like to get your take on this. What are some of the key pain points that dealers have when it comes to payment processing?
Well, I think that there's a number of them, and a number of them are actually quite serious, right? Because you've got laws around credit card processing. Many dealers, Jim, think that those laws primarily are going to apply to the credit card processing company or the card issuing company or the bank, but that's not true. They actually apply to anybody that touches anything that's a part of that process. And of course, the dealers are a big part of that because they're the ones that are processing these payments in their service department, sales departments, and parts departments. So that's one of them. And I think it's really important that dealers understand that and make sure that whoever that you're dealing with is providing you with what you need to make sure that you're on 100% on the right side of things there in terms of the way things are structured. A second one is going to be the process itself, frankly. So one of the things that many dealers are dealing with, it's been a pain point for years. You could go into most dealerships today, Jim, and you may still walk into the office and hear somebody say, hey, there's a $5,000 credit card charge. What's this for? And they're calling around literally in 2026 trying to figure out what that's for. So whereas a modern processors, for example, one of my clients I could think of off the top of my head using Priority Payment Systems Local. I hope I got the name right, Angelo. If I didn't, I apologize to both you and your family. But one of the things they called out to me was the fact that they have the ability to take those credit cards now, and it actually reconciles all the way through the accounting office for them. So there's no more digging around having to do that manually. A third pain point is the process for the customer. Mm-hmm. That process needs to be fast, simple, easy. A fourth one for dealers is they have been for years and years and years undertaking the cost of processing these credit cards. And one dealer client I have also that made a switch to PPSL, it must have been about a year ago, maybe a little more, but they told me they got 5 stores in this group, Jim, and they're saving, if you can imagine, over $150,000 a year for each of these 5 stores. Now that's pure net profit. You know how hard it is to make money today for a dealer.
That's right.
So this is money for years. If they thought about it like, oh my God, we could have been doing this years ago. And it's one of those things, kind of like your cable bill or your cell phone bill, your utilities, your power, maybe the person that takes care of your janitorial. There's things out there that dealers have had for years, been paying for years, never realizing that there's an opportunity to be able to take more money and keep it to your net profit. Now, in this case, as you well know, the vast majority of businesses out there that any consumer deals with has been moving forward with passing on the credit card fees, and they provide you with an option. You want to pay cash, do that. You want to do your debit card, do that. There's no charge or a small charge maybe for some. And if you're going to do the credit card, it costs a little bit more. So dealers that have come to this revelation that the 2 dealer groups I'm thinking of here, that you're able to make this switch and do it in a seamless, easy fashion, end up with a solution that actually that provides the reconciliation, provides the protection, and brings me additional net profit, I think those are pain points that dealers are starting to get really excited about taking advantage of.
Angelo, some of the things that David was just talking about, is that pretty much what you're hearing from dealers as well on those same topics?
Yeah, I mean, compliance is always going to be top of conversation. I mean, nowadays at least, and that's good that everyone's waking up to that. You know, dealers should not assume that because a terminal can perform a function that the dealership is actually using it correctly. And that's where, you know, prime time processors or payment acquirers that we call ourselves, you need to be able to take that transaction from the estimate to the invoice ready to payment taken all the way through the dealership to accounting. And that's what our commerce platform does. You know, and that's what we learned when we were building AutoLink. We had to follow the transaction from the beginning to the end for reconciliation, but most importantly, the transparency and the compliance for the customer.
Yeah, for sure. David, compliance is obviously a word that we're throwing around here lately, especially with the pressure from the FTC. Talk to us about the importance of that in a store and getting that right.
Jim, how much things have changed, right, in the last year, in fact, since March 22nd, because, you know, compliance, you remember when the FTC updated the regulations a couple of years ago, July, I want to say 2 years ago, and that raised the bar, you know, in terms of what they started to scrutinize in terms of what you're selling in your F&I department, what you're not. If it's something that's physically on the car, obviously that's okay, but they started to have issues with specific products. It also brought to light other issues of compliance, and so this is yet just another thing. If you think about what faces any dealer today in terms of the mountain of compliance they have to answer to, that they have to monitor, they have to measure, do you really want one more thing? And by the way, you know, you and I spoke about this, you know, when the whole FTC thing came out, you know, one of the things that I was sharing with you at that time when we were on a podcast, I was actually interviewing you about this really phenomenal event you had in DC. But I said, you know, it's not just the FTC. It's the FTC plus the attorney generals in all 50 states.
That's right.
And then, as if that wasn't enough, that you have to deal with all of the law firms out there that have now another thing to chase. Right, all they need is one person filing a complaint on what are the laws called? PCI, Angelo? Excuse me. What's the
PCIF and PCI? Yeah.
PCI. So one person comes out against that, you got a problem. Now, if they end up finding a handful of people, you got yourself a big problem.
That's right.
Oh, by the way, you're a regional group? You must have some money. Maybe
That's right.
should look at your other dealers.
Yeah.
Right? And next thing you know, Jim, you've got this avalanche that you've got to deal with on the legal side, even if you maybe did 99% of the things right.
That's right.
So if I'm a dealer, if I jump back in the game tomorrow, I will tell you something. Compliance is no joke. You can bet I have a chief compliance officer. You could bet I've got an IT person, and you could bet that everybody I deal with as a partner better be on top of compliance. So that's why dealing with these clients I have that have made this switch, the thing that they talk about all the time, and I mean, I can think of another group, huge group, I won't say their name, but they literally have somebody who's in charge of this for their 60-something stores. And they take this very, very seriously with the environment for legal that's out there right now.
Yeah, and you're right. That's all an attorney needs to hear, and they will jump on this in a minute, right? And all of a sudden, you got a class action suit worth millions of dollars. Not to mention what it does to the dealership's reputation in that market, right?
Which may be worse.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
See what happened to the Lindsay organization out there in Maryland. I mean, which one's worse? I mean, 75 million sounds pretty bad. 78 million sounds pretty bad. Yeah. But what does that do to not to just your reputation in the short term? What does that do to the value of your organization if you decided you wanted to sell that? I remember Chicago, there was an organization up there that was acquired by Auto Canada. Mm-hmm. And it turned out to be a complete nightmare. Now, they ended up settling a while down the road for about $20 million. Okay, a lot of money, but
Yeah.
that wasn't the worst of it. When I talked to somebody from Auto Canada, they told me all in, that was $100 million plus situation. They
Whoa.
ultimately had to get rid of those stores.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
So you don't think about that. You know, you got to think it's like the old Wayne Gretzky. You got to be thinking ahead, guys. And so what you do today is not just about today. It's about how it's going to affect you. And so you got to make sure that your technology is the best. I want you to think about something. You either better have the best team on the planet from top to bottom,
Yep.
or you better have the best technology and the best processes and the best partners. When you have that, now you're moving in the direction of an Amazon, of an Apple, you know, or any other great company, FedEx or a Starbucks, which relies on processes, technology, and great partners to make sure that they could deal with the volumes of people. Think about the volumes of people they deal with, and make sure they can deliver a spectacular experience time after time after time.
Yeah, very good point. Angelo, we talked a little bit about it in our last conversation, which was consumers today have got so many different ways that they can pay a dealership for their services, right? From credit cards to Venmo to, you know, wiring. I mean, you name it. There's so many different alternatives out there. Talk to us about that and the importance of having the right vendor that can accommodate all those different payment sources.
I mean, yeah, great question. So, I mean, look, 10 years ago, there was really three ways you can pay in a car dealership, right? It was your credit or debit card, cash, or check.
Yeah.
And that's if you weren't financing, right? If you were financing, that's just another form of credit, right?
Right.
Now we're sending text messages, we're sending email links, we're offering tap to pay or contactless payments, wallet payments, using Venmo, using buy now, pay later systems, using remote payment systems.
Yep.
Having the ability to log in securely and use a 3D capture. 3D capture is how you mitigate fraud. So utilizing any which way a consumer wants to pay you, you have to be able to take that type of payment. And if you're not, you're using the wrong vendor. And while these dealerships are stacking technology on top of each other, not to make sure that the paying experience is seamless and commercialized. And yes, it seems redundant sometimes to say, well, if they have Venmo, they should have a debit card. But some people only use one form of payment, or they don't have anything in their pockets. All they have is their phone. So you have to be able to let customers pay you the way they want.
Yeah, no question about it.
And we thought about that problem when we built AutoLink. So AutoLink is thinking about these things. We're constantly adding to it, right? So the latest that we did was the buy now, pay later. Who would have thought that $100 transaction in a car dealership, a consumer wants to break that up into 4 easy payments? Well, let them do it. So we added that in.
That's awesome. David, when you and I got into the business way back when, we didn't have all of these issues to deal with, did we? We were using Checkmate to make sure the check was good that the customer gave us, and we pay a percentage of that check, you know, on an insurance basis. But talk to me about that and all of the.
I think I remember I'd have to take my wagon in to the shop, to the blacksmith, and pay him in goats or something, right? And chickens. I think it used to cost me 2 chickens to get.
We'll add that into AutoLink as well.
But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's remarkable how many things have changed.
Yeah.
And one of the things I find interesting is when dealers say, listen, we want to do it this way. Our organization is going to do it this way.
Right.
Listen, here's a reality. All three of us know this. And more dealers, the top dealers in the country, know this. They've always known this. Okay. We get to decide the type of experience that we're going to provide to our clients.
Yeah.
Our clients get to decide where they're going to spend their money.
Yeah.
So anytime I hear a dealer say, no, we're going to have clients do it this way, there's a reason why. You know, somebody might want to get pissed at Carvana, you know, for buying these stores, these Stellantis stores that nobody wanted, where nobody was buying cars. And now they're selling, you know, hundreds of cars to people who have never seen the car, never drove the car. They didn't see it and didn't drive it until they picked it up, right? And yet Carvana is buying cars that they've never seen.
Yep.
They never drove. And you got to sit there and go, well, God, maybe that's foreign to me. Maybe that makes me go like this. And I always say, listen, if you ever hear somebody talking about somebody and something, including right now, and you're like this, write that down.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's probably going to be a breakthrough for you. And the reality is, think about any business that any of us deals with. When they let us buy when we want, how we want, where we want, the way that we want, we like that business.
Yeah.
Because they made it fast, simple, easy. We could talk about frictionless all we want, but you've got to deliver, and you've got to have a process to make frictionless happen.
That's
and
right.
If you could do that and do it with full compliance, my friend, you've got magic there.
No question about it.
The way a client's going to view you.
You don't want to be Blockbuster laughing Netflix out of the conference room, right? Saying, whoever, we're Blockbuster. Are you kidding me? We're huge. We don't need that little Netflix company. And there's so many other stories just like that, right?
They're not even on our radar. My newsletter tomorrow, I have a story about a kid that I ended up hiring. And I won't go into it other than to say I met him at a place called Circuit City, which at the time, Circuit City was the spot. You remember that?
Yes.
The big red building of Circuit City?
Yes.
Everybody bought their stuff. Where are they? I'll tell you where they are. They're CarMax now.
That's right. That's right. Those were the guys that started CarMax.
You better figure out how to reinvent, or people are going to forget you pretty quickly.
God.
You don't want to be remembered as the store that made the wrong decision and was the Blockbuster on your street. I promise that.
David, let me ask you this question, because I know it's something we talked about, that I talked about with Angelo in our last conversation. And you're an investor in technology and kind of a tech entrepreneur. At the same time, you're in the auto industry and know it very, very well. And how much technology is too much, and is there too much technology out there? I mean, there's to Angelo's point, there's this stacking and layering of technology that can drive a dealer crazy, right?
Yeah. So for decades, guys, and when I got in the business in '81, there was no DMS. I mean, think about that, right?
Yeah.
And by the '90s, we got formal DMSs were everywhere, and we had CRMs by the end of the 90s, and our people were selling 10 cars a month. And then in the 2000s, we got e-commerce and we got social, and by the end of that decade, we were selling 10 cars a month, average per person. And then we got, of course, AI, and now we're selling 10 cars a month. So you have to wonder here, well, is it the technology? Because I'm pretty sure the technology has evolved big time. I'm not so sure that we've evolved. Now, here's the thing.
10 cars a month.
Tells you is that it's not the golf club, it's the golfer, right? So
that's right.
As you think about this, you've got to be very quick. How many times do you know golfers that every time a new driver comes out, they buy it, a new putter comes out, they buy it, and they've got a line of these things in their garage.
Yeah.
They're still the same crappy golfer.
That's right.
Right? Because
that's right.
It's not making the putt for you.
No.
So the thing is, when it comes to technology, here's what I would say. Number one, with AI, you got to figure out first, what is this supposed to do?
Yeah.
What decision is it supposed to make, and what problem is it supposed to solve? And if you can't answer those, stop.
Yeah.
Number two, your technology stack today, Jim, most dealers have not reviewed and audited their tech stack since before COVID-19.
Wow.
Right? They have the same tech stack, and yet the world has changed incredibly.
Yeah.
So two is you better audit your tech stack. Number three, you better ask yourself, remember when you were so excited about the solutions and what was going to change, how your life was going to be better? You're going to be taller and better looking if you signed up for this later tech. Okay, did you become taller? Did you become better looking? Did it do what it said it was going to do?
Right.
Hold your technology accountable, just like your marketing. And the last thing I would say is you have disparate systems. We've had them for decades, and it's been painful. The only thing worse is disparate systems with AI. That's not painful. That is a nightmare. So unless you have technology that is solving a real problem, making a customer experience, client experience better, elevating things, reducing friction for your team, and bringing more money to the bottom line, you got to take a hard look. Chances are you have things in your tech stack that you probably should be getting rid of now.
That's right. That's right. And I can't agree with you more. To hear that what you just said about most dealers haven't done a tech audit since COVID, That is a scary thought, but I've got to believe, knowing what I know of dealers, and they get so busy, and obviously right after COVID for a number of years they were doing so well. So it was difficult to even talk to a dealer about some of these issues because they said, "Oh, you think my store is broken? We're making record profits, so we're going to leave everything as it is." But now, as we see, the industry coming back around, we're not selling as many cars. We're certainly not making as much money as we did during the COVID heyday, and now it's all about how much money can I save. And when you just mentioned $150,000 a rooftop in savings, and of course that varies, that's a lot of money, especially if you got 3 stores, 10 stores, 20 stores, as so many groups have now, right?
Yeah, I get fatigued sometimes. I understand why it's said. Don't get me wrong. And I'm delighted that as an industry, we're still making more money than we did in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very concerned because the money that we were making back then was hyper reliant on below the line money from the OEMs. That below the line money has been reduced significantly because the OEMs themselves are under siege.
That's right.
The OEMs themselves are trying to figure out how to survive for what's coming, whatever that might be. And so the thing is that these dealers that keep every year seeing their operational net, first of all, disappeared. Most stores, they're not operationally profitable anymore.
Right.
And now you see it be going negative. And you remember that line that says net additions, other income?
Yep.
It said it was supposed to be other income on top of operational profit. It doesn't say loss mitigation profit center, right? So
that's right.
Operating income loss mitigation fund.
That's right.
You got to take a hard look at that. And the reality is, Jim, is that while it's true, we're still making, as an industry average, we are still making more on average than we did at 2019. The industry's been bifurcated. There's the haves and the have-not branch. You know who they are.
That's right.
There's the have and have-not geography. You know who they are.
Yep.
And then there's, of course, the operator. So if you're in an industry, if you happen to be, one of the brands that's, and these are, I like all these brands. You got Acura, you got Stellantis, you got VW, you got Nissan, you got Mitsubishi, you got Mini, you got Lincoln, you got Genesis, you got, fine cars. But try making money in those stores. It's hard.
Yeah.
And for you stores that were lucky enough to have, you're in a Honda store, Mercedes, BMW, Toyota, Lexus, God bless you.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't you want to make more?
That's right.
Because guess what? You're not making what you used to make either.
Nope.
And I don't think the object was to compare myself back. If I wanted to compare myself to the past, Jim, oh my God, you should have seen me, how good I looked when I was like 25 years old. Bro. So right now I look like a high mileage unit, bro. But if I wanted to talk about that, are we talking about how when we were the high school quarterback and we won the game? Seriously?
Right.
Let's talk about today. How do I maximize today? And anybody who is leaving money on the table that they don't have to leave on the table, golly, you got to ask yourself why.
I know. I couldn't agree more. Angelo, I'm going to give you the last word. What do you want to leave the dealer audience with today on this topic?
The topics we cover is so important. Understanding it's not just about technology. Compliance is hyper important. A dealer shouldn't always need another customer to make another dollar.
Yeah,
that's what I would say. Technology should help the dealership and make the customers and the transactions easier and more relevant. But the dealership has to do something that you mentioned earlier, David, which was the audit, doing a vendor audit, do a technology audit.
Yeah.
I say,
do a credit card audit.
Do a credit card audit. Let us take a look at that. You mentioned the large group. We're saving those guys 9+ figures a year. 9+ figures a year.
Wow.
Hey, Jim, you know what they had to do? You know how painful it was to do that?
Oh,
I know a lot of these dealers. They had to send 3 months of credit card payment statements. That's it.
That's
what
it.
They did. That was the get-in for 9 figures.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And I told you earlier, Jim, 5 days and we were in their stores plugging in. And now they're saving $9, $10, $11 million a year. That's all you need to know.
God, you hear those kinds of numbers and you're just like, dealers, what are you waiting on? This is, if you're listening to us have this conversation, I don't know what you're waiting on. At the very least, do the audit. Get with Angelo and his team and say, come on in here, tell me what the real deal is. And don't, for the dealer principals that are watching, and David was one, he knows, if I'm a dealer principal today, bring it to me. I want to see it. I'm not leaving this to even my operating team or my GM or my GSM or even my comptroller. I want to meet with you and I want to see the bottom line of all of this, because sometimes, the relationship with vendors can get so cozy and they don't want to hurt friendships and what have you. But you're talking about millions of dollars, guys. And so this is a serious topic. And to your point earlier, Angelo, you don't have to sell one more car. You don't have to write one more RO. This is money waiting for you to collect that, you're already doing that business in your store. So I think that's probably one of the most exciting things about all of this. So David Spisak and Angelo Mendola, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. Very much appreciate it. I know that our audience will get a lot out of today's show. And I still think you're a good-looking guy, David, even if you're not, the quarterback. And so, Angelo and I still love you. I love the point about 40 years ago, 10 cars a month. Today, 10 cars a month, even with all the new technology. So,
right.
So true. All right. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.